Tadasana, otherwise known as the mountain pose. Nice green cardigan. Nice. Hands at the heart. Breathe through your nose if you can. Adjust and readjust. If you want, the feet, I find it very, very helpful because if I move my feet, it feels like, it's true, that all the tissue in the body moves. And in that movement, I can circumnavigate around gripping, grasping, grabbing paradigms, which otherwise arrest my attention around my own particular circles of neurosis. You know, we all have them, don't we? Little circles of neurosis. Interlace your fingers, stretch your arms diagonally down, raise your arms up. As you raise up, tone your tummy up in response so that you feel more length in your back. The more the tummy draws in, the more length comes in the back. Eyes are soft. Find the pelvic floor. Now that could be a throwaway instruction, couldn't it? Find the pelvic floor. You might hear it. You might think maybe it's just a general instruction. You can still sort of think about whatever I'm thinking about. But actually, if you take the instructions on board, they have utility, of course. I wouldn't say them otherwise. So finding the pelvic floor, and everyone has one, is the area between the pubic bone and the tailbone. Consists of 4 muscles, 4 main muscles. And when you find the pelvic floor, you're finding aliveness. Take a big, wide circle. Hands to the heart. Breathe through your nose, if you can. Take your feet hip width apart, hip distance apart. Hands still at the prayer position. Tadasana Namaskara, but with the feet apart. I sometimes call this Kayotsaga. Just bend your knees and loosen the hips. Breathe easy. Make sure you feel the way that feels right for you in terms of looseness. And then we're going to keep loosening down until we reach down to the floor with our hands and breathe easy there. So the knees are bent. We're just loosening the back. Obviously, the back is stretching. And that's being supported by the leg muscles. And you can breathe all along those multiple muscles along the back. Multiple small muscles make up various groups like the erector spinae group and so on. So you can feel. Now, as you bend your knees a bit more, you can lift your head a bit to fingertips. So your head is a little lifted, you bent your legs a bit more. You can jostle around or bounce around if you find utility in that. And then raise your arms up like you're skiing quite fast, adding bumps if you want. I've been told, I've never been skiing, but I've been told so many times about what it's like by people that think that this feels a bit like it, that I think I now know what it's like. And every time I emulate what I think skiing is like by adding the little bumps. I even add little swerves as I'm going down my imaginary hill. Arms forwards and up. Keep the legs bent. And then gradually, with strong, calm legs, come up all the way. Big, wide circle. Hands to the heart. Okay. There's two mats, Kate, one there and one there. You can choose which one you like the best. One there, one there. Yeah. Walk your feet back towards each other. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft. Perhaps the heart rate's increased a little bit. We're going to raise up the right heel and still breathe deep and free through the nose. Try and tune in on your left foot, the standing foot. So moving back, moving forwards, just tuning in. Continue to raise your leg up and reach your hands down for the shin and pull up, breathing through your nose. Great opportunity to practice kindness and good sense of humor. that kind of thing. Or to get very, very serious, which is also an option, perfectly your prerogative. Up to you. Even getting very, very serious can be fun. Okay, bring your leg back down. Take a breath, shake it off. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths so your breath is really flowing and free. And then, when ready, lift up your other heel, similarly, and feel into the 3-foot arches of the standing leg. So there's a medial arch on the big toe side, there's a lateral arch on the little toe side, and there's a transverse arch across. So I find I can feel into my foot arches just by moving, and it brings intelligence into the feet and into the legs, an intelligence that can respond to the subtle changes that are going on all the time in an ever-moving universe. When you're ready, raise the leg and reach down and pull up. The pulling up affects, of course, the leg you're pulling on, but also the standing leg. It's a meditation. Yoga is not an exercise class, it's a meditation. So as you're extending up, let that be a point of absorption. Absorption in the ever-changing, living moment. Some traditions, including traditions I like, call it the goddess, the ever-changing moment. Okay, super duper. Take your legs very wide and turn your toes out slowly enough that you don't fall over, as far as you can within reason. Reasonable people here at the Brighton Buddhist Centre, as you'd expect. We're going to bend down from the knees and hips and perhaps allow a little movement so you can adjust into absorption. And I find myself, I quite like to, as I adjust the body further up, I also adjust the feet lower down, because they're one thing. What's happening in the feet is happening in the rest of the body. Breathing through your nose. Release your hands and hold this mudra. The late and great teacher Sally Kempton names this as goddess pose. Because some iconography, particularly from South India, has goddesses painted in this sort of way. Standing up on the inhale. Turning the feet forward, hands on the hips. Take 3 or 4 or 5 deeper breaths, really deep. So as you take deep breaths, this begins to circulate the energy, so that any areas of attachment that we could call knots, granthis in Sanskrit, any areas that we orbit around, begin to get loosened. Our neurosis, which can be defined by how tightly we orbit around certain fixations, past, future, ideas about ourselves, whatever fixations we have. As we loosen those fixations, flow begins. That's called non-attachment. Turn your back toes in and see what you can do for the little toe to spread it out with love, patience, happiness, time. Turn your front foot on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. If things are going well for you, you've ended up with heel to arch alignment. If they're going badly, it's not that bad, is it? Because badly here means your heel's lined up with your heel, and all you've got to do is adjust it. So that kind of bad is quite good, really, compared to other kinds of bad. Stretch your arms out. Inhale, exhale, Trikonasana, both legs straight. Don't hold the breath. Take deeper breaths. Being honest. I'm not even sure if that sentence works. Honesty, just honest. Honest is beyond somebody being anything, including being honest. Honest is something you breathe into, something you play with, something that expresses. So play with the posture, experiment with it. Try changing the weight ratios. Try adjusting your feet. Look for sensations that incorporate you into this dance. Inhale, come on up, well done. Hands on the hips, good job everyone. Deep breaths, feet forwards, back toes in. And if we did end up with the unfortunate situation of heel to heel last time, we'll avoid it by this time, being very thorough about lifting the heel first, turning until the heel lines up with the arch, and then finishing the last bit of the turn on the heel. And there, great success has ensued all around the room. Raise your arms up. Breathe through your nose. Loosen, loosen, relax. Enjoy. Inhale. Exhale. Good job. Beautiful. Investigation is a fundamental part of the enjoyment of yoga. So you're not doing poses, hoping the yoga teacher either praises you or at least minimally doesn't scold you. That's sometimes we do come to a class like that, don't we? Trying not to be scolded. Do I look right? Do I fit in? Look at that person over there. They're more bendy than me. Oh dear. That's one way to approach. But for yoga, it's like completely different. It's an investigation. You investigate this sensation. You play with it. You look for ways in which you can bring the whole experience together in a way that's powerful. Inhale. Good job. Coming up, walking your feet back towards each other. Shake it off a little bit. Any way you like. Let's go back in time to ancient yoga. And yes, you're right, Barbara. It's Vrikshasana, tree pose. So lift up your right heel, breathe through your nose, and feel into your left foot. So Vrikshasana, the so-called tree pose, has been practiced for a very long time. At least standing on one leg has been practiced for a very long time. So let's raise up our leg. You can place it anywhere, in an ankle, cup the knee, up to the top of the thigh. And hands can come to prayer. Great opportunity to keep your sense of humor about you and to be very, very loving and accommodating towards this field that we sometimes call me, myself, and I. This field that we sometimes call me, myself, and I is actually, in reality, part of a much bigger field, which yoga calls prakriti. So there's nothing really that we can completely autonomously take the blame for or completely autonomously be praised for. Everything is everything. Everything has a part to play. So breathing easy. If we want to partly emulate the ancient practitioners, we can pretend to hold a stick in our hands as they did, according to the Greeks who attested seeing this. And then if we want, we can raise a stick up. Breathing through your nose. You're soft. Yeah. Just thinking about the teenage years, how they'll be. Okay, bring the stick down. Come on down. Take a breath or two. Shake it off. Breathe easy. So it's all about looseness, easefulness, playfulness, investigation. Let's raise up the other leg. Just in case you don't know, Zoomers don't know what I'm talking about. There was a screaming infant outside, screamy, shouty. It made me think, if it's like that now, good God. Do you think that was happy? If that's happy. It didn't seem terrible. Didn't it? Okay. Raise up, cup, or bring your foot up higher. That's very good. You're right, son. We should be more charitable. Breathe easy to yourself. So Vriksha means tree. Another name for tree is padapa, which means foot, pada, drinker, pa, foot drinker, a being that drinks through its feet. That's a tree. I quite like that image, particularly when I'm in tree pose, although this pose was never supposed to look like a tree on any level. It was called tree pose much later as a result of the practice being done with the support from a swing hung from a tree. Investigative, meditative. Studying for the sake of absorption. Good job. Gracefully place. Shake off a little bit. Have a breath or two or three or four or five. Let's stand in the middle of our mats, and perhaps, in what way shall I face you? Let's face that away, if you don't mind, right in the very, very middle of your mat. Raise your arms up. Good job. Take the leg that's closest to me backwards and come to the toe tips. Stretch along the front of the body and make sure your neck feels soft. And you'll probably understand from your direct experience that for your neck to feel soft, everything has to feel soft. There's a flow. So we're stretching up through the tummy dynamically from the inner thigh of the back leg. Now we're going to keep taking the toes back, and as we do, eventually we're going to start tipping forwards. The foot will come off the floor. And that's fine, that angle. Any angle you want, you can tip as much or as little as you like. But it's tipping from the hip joint of the standing leg, which is facilitated by a meditative awareness of energy going up. Meditative means absorbed, moving with the moment, open to the moment. So meditative awareness. You can come as low as parallel to the floor if you wanted. Doesn't matter how high or low we are, as long as the tipping is from the hip. Coming back calmly, touching the toes on the floor behind you. If you're desperate to come out, just notice, perhaps even repeat the word desperation and stay with it. And then back foot forward, shake it off, feet together, take a breath or two. Deep breath or two. Once you feel loose, 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 raise your arms up again with the same sort of loose vibe going on. Light tone in the tum. I'm sure some of you will feel directly that as your tummy tones, you feel what I can only really describe as a sort of buoyancy at the pelvic floor. It's in a sense, there's a sense of keeping energy into what we call the central channel, which is what you imagine it to be, a channel along the center line of the body. In other words, anterior to the spine, immediately anterior to the spine. So if you imagine that central channel, as they do in most hatha texts, starts at the pelvic floor, nudge energy into that central channel by toning the tummy. And you essentially just keep it from, as it were, falling out of the central channel into the other channels either side. Take your toes back onto the floor of the other leg. Again, lightly tone your tummy, reiteratively. I've compared it to combing. Some people have got the kind of hair, many people haven't, but some people have got the kind of hair that if you comb it again and again, the strands of hair will agree to go in the same direction eventually. So that's the kind of idea here. It's like combing or like raking or just drawing as much as you can from the inner groin of the back leg, through the pubis, through the tummy, the sides of the body, the middle of the body, again and again. Once you've got that stretch going on, keep taking your toes back, and the pivoting will begin as the foot comes up. As the foot comes up, keep calm moment to moment awareness. Calm moment to moment awareness. The more energy can be incorporated in the standing leg upwards through the standing leg, the more we'll feel stable and the more we will tilt. This is Virabhadrasana, number 3. Coming back to toe tips. Again, if you're desperate to come out, don't. Just tell yourself, repeat, oh, desperate, or whatever it is you feel. And you might not. You might feel like, that's lovely, Jim. I really like to stay for ages. Bring your back foot forwards. Big circle. Hands to heart. Deep breath in, followed by out. Step forwards on your mat. Towards the front end. Raise your arms up again. Inhale, exhale. Hands flat on the mat. Sorry, I feel like I should say tra-la-la-la-la after that. Hats flat on the mat. But bend your knees if you need to. Jaw soft. That was a quote from Boney M, by the way. A musical quote. Take the leg that's closest to me and step it back. Draw your knee towards the floor behind the pelvis, the back knee down. Back knee down. If your front heel is up, then your back leg needs to go further back. Breathe through your nose. You can be on fingertips or you can have your hands flat. It's up to you. Adjust and readjust by lifting and landing your back knee. What are we adjusting? Two things. The position and the pressure on the knee, but also the position of the inner groin. Climb up onto your leg with your hands. If it's uncomfortable on the back knee, you can always come forwards back to your hands and readjust. But the more you focus, the more we focus on upwards stretch through the groin of the back leg, upwards through the tummy, the less pressure goes down through the knee. We can even follow that upwards energy with our arms. So upwards, and it's not just the stretch, but it's the release, which is something that we allow through our breath. At every moment of every day, we are saying yes or no to that moment through our breath. You can start to notice that if you want, but we can certainly feel it now. There's no maybe, it's only yes and no, or no. Maybe is just a dressed up version of no. Maybe temporarily, whatever, but it's still no. Okay, come forwards calmly. Nice and easy. Back to hands and knees for a second or two. Come up into downward facing dog, which I think you know. Pushing from front to back, an inverted triangle, stretching the legs investigatively, bending, extending, or moving the pelvis, whatever helps your first stretch of the day. Then we've got to try to navigate this enormous journey from the feet back to the hands. So people walk, they step, or they jump. Up to you. Get your feet back towards your hands. Again, hands flat on the floor, knees almost certainly are bent for most of us. Otherwise, the back doesn't have any softness or flow. It's not that you couldn't, or some people can have softness and flow in the back and straight legs. But to help that even more, if you did have straight legs, and this is definitely not for most of us, but just in case one or two, if you did have straight legs, then moving your feet really helps to hydrate the fascia, and that helps it to release, helps it to flow. When you're ready, step the other leg back to the one you stepped back before. Should be the one furthest away from me. And then bring that knee down towards the floor. It should be sloping backwards, your back leg. So it's not directly underneath the hip at all. It's much further back. So if you're someone with a vowel anywhere in your first name, just take your knee a little bit further back. Has anyone here got a vowel in their first name? If you do, just take your knee a little further back. I've got a vowel in my, I've taken my knee back. Yeah, any vowel. I mean, basically, if you've got a name, then you take your knee back. You've got three. Well, don't take your knee 3 times further back. Fingertips, breathe through your nose. How many you got, Simon? You got 2. Okay. Coming up onto your knee. There you go. Tone the tummy. Breathe through your nose. If you feel that stretch from the inner groin is something that you're beginning to breathe into, to give to mentally and physically, then raise your arms up as a continuation of the energy of uplift and release. the energy, which is psychophysical. The energy, it's like give, give, give. Dana, dana, dana. That's the Sanskrit and the Pali for giving. Dana, D-A-N-A. Give, give, give. And what are we giving to? We're giving to this holism, this experience of holism. Make sure everything's partaking in this flow. And that's how you return to the source. And that's how the powers of that origin nature flow through us. There's the power of wisdom and compassion. Coming forwards calmly. Back to hands and knees. Catch a deep breath. Just wag your tail a little bit. Like a happy doggy. And then bring the knee that's furthest from me directly behind the wrist that's furthest from me. The knee that's furthest from me. And then the foot comes diagonally across the body as you stretch back your leg. For most people, you're going to feel your breath releases quite strongly if you come down, which is good. So coming down to your elbows and forearms. One or two people find that it's more meditative for them to be lifted up. And that's also fine. Meditative, remember, means absorbed. Absorption has signs. Absorption is not like, I think I'm absorbed. You know. Absorption has signs such as breath becoming more deep, expressive, and relaxed. Absorption has signs such as doubt disappearing. Doubt is replaced by spontaneous knowing and its spontaneous response. It's all about the breath. It's definitely a Vajrasati yoga catchphrase that really means something. They all do. We never say anything that doesn't mean something. So disappearing and reappearing in this beyond words, beautiful dance that reveals our true nature, because our true nature can't attach to anything in particular. It's open. Our true nature, you could say, is openness. If you're down in the pose, your elbows are down, then come up a little bit. If you're up, then come down a little bit. Tuck your back toes under, bring your back knee forwards, come onto hands and knees and catch a deep breath. Wag your tail if you want to. Wag your tail if you want to. Take a few breaths that way. Second leg, same thing. I'm going to turn around for the second side. There's no need for you to do so at all. I just feel like I'm giving the people who are watching on Zoom purely a bottom-based class, which may or may not be what they want. Presumably not. Let's bring the other knee forwards then to the back of the wrist. Move the foot diagonally across the body and stretch back. And breathe easy. Again, many of us will find it useful to immediately come down. Useful means, you breathe. That's what useful means. Or to lift up. Of course, I don't think I'm alone in occasionally getting FOMO, fear of missing out. So by all means, you can try both if someone gets a bit of FOMO. So it's all about the breath. Breathe honestly and expressively. Honestly and expressively. Good job. If you're down, come up. If you're up, come down. And bring the back knee forwards and come back. Back to your hands and knees. Take a breath or two or three. or 4, and pop straight up into Adho Mukha Svanasana, down face dog. So up you come into your down face dog when you're ready. Good. Hands can be adjusted any way that suits you. We'll either have the hands facing forwards or turn slightly out, which is fine. Make sure whatever they're like, they're the same distance as each other from the sides of the mat. And similarly, absolutely no point checking your hands are equidistant from the sides of the mat if you don't check that your feet are equidistant from the sides of the mat. That is equidistant, the left foot equidistant, same as the right. Huh? Open and stretch and breathe. Heels go back, groins go up. Back of the thighs go forwards, front of the thighs go up. Armpits stretch and open, inner and outer armpits. Feel through your body, just as you find it. Well done. Come down to hands and knees. Take 3 deep breaths that are audible. Real emphasis on the exhale. And if 4 deep breaths happen, that's great. Or 5, wonderful. 6, super duper. And when you're ready, take the hand that's furthest away from me and feed it underneath your body, palm up towards me, just as I'm feeding mine towards you. Bring your head down towards the floor. Extend out your other arm to fingertips. The point of the postures is not the postures, but the point of the postures is that they're used as a portal to point to something beyond themselves, that which we call the field. Beyond, not meaning separate to, but just deeper than, in terms of perception. So in other words, feel the richness of your stretch on your deltoid that captures shoulder, or wherever else you're feeling interest or stretch. Breathe into those sensations, and you'll feel how their ultimate identity is as part of a field of flow, that can be best known through surrender. Now, most of us are getting plenty in terms of surrendering to that field of flow in this version of the pose. So feel encouraged to stay like this, unless you want to try a rather different variation of it, where you draw your arm back and you raise up your leg. That's another option. If you want to try that, you can, but you've got to draw your arm back for that option. Breathe through your nose, keep your jaw soft. Good. There is another variation which is even more crazy, and that's and you can hear people are dropping already, where you bend your top leg, and you'd have to move very slowly for this. You'd reach for your foot, but as you can tell, it's a highly exciting strategy. You have to be very, very calm and slow. And coming out should also be calm and slow, whichever variation we do. And you come back to hands and knees and you huff and puff. Whew, and wag your tail. Or whatever makes you feel loose, right? Just loosening off. Breathing deep, loosening off. And of course, we're going to go the other direction now. So the other arm goes underneath, palm facing up. And you're facing away from me. You don't have to turn around, Simon. Yeah, it's just, just bring the arm that's nearest me. Yeah, that's it. You got it. But yeah, that's it. Perfect. Breathe through your nose. So when we say yoga is a meditation, it's good to understand what meditation means. Meditation means absorption. And so everybody meditates, even if they only do it for very short periods of time. Everybody meditates. Whether or not we're aware of it changes the paradigm completely. So we meditate when we disappear for a second into something we like the taste of, or the smell of, or the feel of. And sometimes that only lasts for a second, but there's a second of meditation. It's recognizing what meditation is in those moments, as well as in more overt moments of meditation like this, that really makes meditation powerful, because we start to recognize the power of surrender. The power of surrender. Power doesn't come from acquisition, grasping, grabbing, gaining, getting, all the gurs, grabbing, grasping, gripping, all the G's, getting, gaining. Instead, it comes from openness. If you want to try that crazy variation number one, then you retract your extended arm and raise your leg. Breathe through your nose if you can. And for most of us, crazy variation number one is plenty crazy enough. Thanks very much. But some of you, mentioning no names, are a little crazier still, and you might want to try extra crazy variation, bending the leg and reaching for it. You have to be very slow if you're trying that variation. And you breathe into it, falling like flies in the room. I was hoping you were going to fall into Kate then. That was domino effect. There's many people falling. Marvelous to see. Luckily, it's not very high to fall from. Okay, well done. Come back to center. Hands and knees. Huff and puff, wag your tail like you had a bit of fun, like a happy doggy, like one of those small ones that are happy. It's just been chasing a ball for a bit. Good. Once you've done your little happy doggy move, turn around to face towards me, just so I know we're all still friends. Support yourself on your forearm like this. Breathe through your nose. Imagine you're holding some lovely flowers. Bring your leg behind you, your top leg behind you on the floor. Relax if you want, or anticipate with tension if you prefer. Okay. Lift up calmly, or not calmly, but just know what you're choosing. So you're perfectly within your rights to choose not calm. That's, you might say, no, Jim, not calm's my thing. I'm just gonna do it. That's fine. If you want, you can raise the top arm. You can even raise the heel of the back leg, if you want. Calm, meditative, aware. Calmly coming down, slow and calm. Slowly. Well done. Knees up. Spin round. Come to your forearm. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. You survived side one. Breathe through your nose, if you can. Hand holding whatever you want. Tulips are in my hand, because they're about to come up in the garden. Breathe through your nose to yourself. Lift up when you're ready. Calmness conditions connection. So if we go into calmness, then we'll connect with the moment-to-moment sensations, and then it doesn't hit you like a wall. Don't forget, you can raise your arm if you want. You can raise your back heel if you want. Breathing should be deep, expressive, and honest. Movements are investigating ways in which we can return to the field that every sensation we feel is ultimately part of. Beautiful. Good job. Calmly descend. Here's something I think you want to do. Go ahead. I got your number. Actually, bend your legs, scoot the buttocks under, pop your hands underneath your head. Imagine a weekend before Easter, and the sun was sort of kind of out, as much out as it gets these days anyway. We're in a seaside town. Lower back soft. Breathing through your nose. So the meditation is absorption into the field. We sometimes call the field the mother, because everything that is an expression of that field. Everything is co-created by everything else. Things run into other things and create new things, whether it be thoughts, whether it be beings, whatever it is. Things run into things and make new things, and then those new things run into other things and make more new things, and it goes on, and everything's running into everything, co-creating in endless patterns. And that's a field that's not philosophical, but experiential. I mean, we can postulate it philosophically, and it makes a lot of sense. No particle physicist would argue with it. No biologist would argue with everything being interdependent, interconnected. But we, as practitioners of yoga, we want to know it directly. And the portal is whatever's in consciousness now. Clouds moving, breeze passing, back settling, knees tingling, whatever you feel. Toes buzzing, armpits softening. And we open up, we say yes to the field through our breath. So we feel a sensation and we say yes to it. And by doing that, we merge into that sensation. And because the sensation is part of that field, we feel our way back to interdependence. Lift your feet up, and I think you'll find your lower back has quite a nice moment when it gets closer to the floor. As a yoga practitioner, we want to make that moment more intimate still. Lift up your head when you're ready, and you'll feel your lower back press into the floor even more. This very much helps with tension in the lower back as we push fluid out of muscle areas like the quadratus lumborum, because in a moment when that fluid comes back in, it will increase in quantity. Now we're going to tap the floor with our toes alternately, and just tapping back and forth. What makes this yogic is that we open up to the multiple sensations that flow as we toe tap. Tingling sensations in the tummy, deeper than the labels that we might put on the sensations. Labels about ourselves, labels about our activity, labels about others. Deeper than that is the experience in terms of its richness, its color, its temperature, and its change. Try tapping a little further out. Keep your lower back close to the floor. If you're getting tired in the tummy, that's fine. Don't worry about it. If your tummy's burning, that means you're building up some muscle response. That's good. We can even try tapping the heels. Keep the lower back close to the floor. Might be getting intense. That's good. Intensity is something yogis like. A couple of times with each heel if you're doing that. Before bending the legs, bringing just the head down, the feet stay up, and take 3 deep breaths like that, expressing release. Oh, you're really expressing release. This is the release into the mother field. We have to trigger it with strong sensations because we've got a lot of past that's occupying the body that needs to be challenged before we can be open. And it's only openness that can feel the mother field. And if you feel the mother field, clinging is negated. You get the powers of the mother field, plus you get the sense of autonomy of what is the true referent of the label, I am. Feet down on the floor, bring your heels close to the bum. Tone your tummy in a wave. In other words, your tummy draws in towards the floor, and then you use your ribs to pull the tummy up towards your head. So the tummy goes in towards the floor, and then use your ribs to pull the tummy up towards your head. Then lift your bum up off the floor, straight up, using the gluteal muscles and the hamstrings. You can feel the gluteal muscles that form the shape of each buttock. 3 main muscles. The main muscle, of course, gluteus maximus, but medius and minor as well. As the gluteal muscles push the thighs up, they tone. Now, here's an opportunity for us to notice preoccupation of the body by noticing which side is more toned than the other, and toning whichever side is working a bit less, so they're more equal. Once you've toned the side that was a little bit weaker, then the other side will have laxed off a bit, so you have to retone that. We can imagine the buttocks to be almost like a ball shape, and we're drawing in, making that a sort of denser ball, if you like. From the medial aspect, the lateral aspect, the distal, and the proximal. Keep going between the buttocks. Which one is laxed off? Which one is working harder? Bring that one that's laxed off back in, and then catch up with the other one, which will have laxed off while you took your attention away. Come down slowly, very slowly. Once you're down, you know to let the breath go, right? So let the breath go. Several really deep breaths. And as you're taking those really deep breaths, stretch your arms out in a cactus position. Stretch your arms out in a cactus position. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Cross the leg that's closest to me over the other leg. I actually like to wrap my legs all the way around, but you just wrap them to wherever you wrap them. And then pull your legs towards your head and let them fall away from me, just towards the floor. If your back arm comes up, that's perfectly fine. Don't try and bring it down. Just feel the big stretch. Breathe into the big stretch. Don't hold your breath. That's what we want to really make sure, that the breath is not held. So our role to play is making sure the breath really flows, really flows. Coming back up without haste. Bringing the feet, uncrossing the legs, tucking the pelvis under, getting the shoulder blades comfy, taking a few deep breaths, moving in any way that helps you just to sort of shake off any tension before wrapping the other leg around. And in the same way, we come over, but to the other side, towards me this time. And the back arm could well lift right up off the floor. That's fine. Your job then is your breath. Using longer breaths, using study of the intimate sensations of the back. You can breathe the back arm back down. I think it's useful to keep a sense of depth in your back, as if there's a inward pressing energy from the back towards the front. Well done. Roll back easy and slow and calm. Uncross your legs. Realign. Well done. Realign. And then roll easy over onto your side, facing towards me, or this side of the room, at least. And bend the leg that you're laying on. Good job. What you want to have is 2 sets of 90 degrees, one between your thigh and tummy and one between your calf and thigh. We're going to stretch the inner groin of the back leg back many times. So when we're stretching a muscle like the psoas that attaches to the top of your inner thigh, that muscle comes across your lateral pubis and underneath your abdominals and attaches to the sides of your lower spine. So when you're stretching a muscle like that by lifting your back leg, Understand that it is a muscle and that muscles and mind are the same thing. So in other words, when you stretch the muscle, look for a state of attention that can soften that inner thigh as it stretches it. And eventually we'll bring the foot down and that will establish the amount of stretch you've done already. And after a few breaths, once you feel the body's got used to that stretch, you might repeat and add to the stretch of the top of the inner thigh. And then again, landing to hold it in place. Eventually, we'll feel like we've got a lovely, soft, pliant stretch on the inner groin of the back leg. And we can suck the tummy in, push down into our hands, lift and turn to bring our elbows, forearms, and wrists on the floor. The elbows are a little forwards of the shoulders. That's where they should be. Breath is expressive, and our practice is meditative in that it's investigative. In other words, we're making movements that can help us breathe more deeply, breathe more expressively, essentially disappearing. Bring your top leg on top of your bottom leg and simply curl up from the side before coming back down, still facing towards the front of the room. Bend the leg you're laying on, similarly to the first side, 90 degrees, and then stretching your inner groin. So remember, this soft tissue is muscular tissue. This is the muscular tissue of the iliacus and the psoas, both coming from the inner thigh. And so as you extend it, think in ways and feel and breathe in ways that conduce to a pliant feeling, a feeling of increased pliancy. And when that becomes soft, it moves, and then you can lift and land, and lift and land. So what's happening to your body is dependent on what's happening to your mind and vice versa. But you don't have to believe me, you can see for yourself. How is that tissue on the inner thigh? For there to be a physical release, there has to be a release of the mind and the body and the breath. When you're ready to turn, the tummy sucks in, you lift, you turn, you come to elbows, forearms, and wrists. You breathe through your nose if you can. So without holding the breath. Investigative, aware, awake. Perhaps every so often you could suck your tummy in from underneath the mons pubis. The mons pubis is the fatty tissue that covers your pubic bone. But you can feel underneath that fatty tissue to the muscular insertion of the rectus abdominis, the central sheath of muscle. Well done. Top leg on top of the bottom leg and simply curling up to come up nice and cool and calm and crossing your legs into Sukhasana. So Sukha means a good space, it's cross legs. Now you can sit on blocks for this, and many of you will find that useful. 2 blocks are good with a blanket, or 1 block's fine without a blanket. If you're using 2 blocks, it's definitely, you sit on both blocks, you take the blanket underneath your shins. If you feel you want a blanket when you're sitting on 1 block, that's fine, but you have to have one when you're on 2 blocks. I can explain, but we ain't got all morning. You can see me after if you want. Ask any questions about anything. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Notice when I draw the buttock flesh out and back, I lean to the opposite side, forwards and across. And that helps you to get to the inner front edge of your sitting bones. Remember, if you're on 2 blocks, to use a blanket, I'm not on 2 blocks, but I'll show you. The blanket goes loose underneath the shins like that. It's not a good thing to use if you're not on any blocks. But if you're on 2 blocks, definitely. If you're on 1, maybe it's nice too. Jnana mudra, palms facing up. Breathe through your nose. Drop your shoulders. Soften any tense tissue, like inside the knees. There's a very small muscle inside the knees called the popliteus muscle. And surprisingly, the popliteus muscle can get quite tense. So you can imagine inside your knees a softening that necessarily requires a release of whatever it requires a release of, whatever we find that we're holding. Ideas about ourselves, we often hold those. Expectations of the future, I think most of us hold those. Whatever you expect the future to be like, it won't be like that. There are too many factors that you can't see for you to be able to completely accurately predict the future. But the person who's open seems to know the future because there's nothing in the way when the present arises. So they respond perfectly, like nothing slowing us down. Inhale, lift up from your groins. Exhale, bring your right hand on the floor behind you and turn nice and easy. From Jainism and from the Patanjala Yoga Shastra, well, actually it's in the Sutra, we find this phrase aparigraha. So that's mentioned in, as I say, Jainism and in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And it means not grasping or empty of grasping. Up means not, pari means very, graha means grasping. Not very grasping, not very graspy. So that's an instruction for how to practice yoga. Practice yoga by being not very graspy. Right? Because grasping is always about what you want that you haven't got yet. But yoga understands that this is a moment that's rolling, and this is the only moment, this rolling moment that there ever is. This moment as it rolls is the only moment that there ever is. So reaching out to an imagined future is stepping off this moment, which is like a raft on a stream that already has a current. By stepping into the present moment, this is a movement. But there are no other moments other than this. Lift and return to center and keep lifting. Turn all the way around the other way. Don't hold your breath if you can avoid it. How's the head feel relative in terms of alignment, in terms of energy, in terms of flow? How's your head and neck feel? Feel like they're flowing, or does your breath feel tight when you bring awareness to your head and neck? Palm can face in or out in this pose. I'm still waiting for my first, I don't know how long, my first 17 years, 16 years of yoga, I was a palm out kind of guy on this pose. And then the last 18 years, I've been a palm in kind of guy. But I'm looking forward to being a palm out guy again at some point. And it's all depending on what feels right in terms of your absorption here and now. What triggers your breath? What triggers this surrender into openness? Openness. Excellent. Release. Return to center. Take 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths. Just where you are. Drop the shoulders. Let the bum relax. How many people even knew that their bums were tense? Not something we notice ordinarily. Your breath can show you parts of the body that you didn't even know were holding tension. Because when you're aware of a part of the body and you're aware of the breath at the same time, the breath will mirror what's going on in the body. The breath will mirror it. Change the cross of your legs when you're ready. So the other leg goes in front. You might want a little stretch out between sides. That's all right. Allow that. There's a gap, by the way, here between the legs and the pelvis. And we draw the buttock push out and back. So sitting up tall and straight, breathing through your nose if you can. Drop the shoulders. Inhale to lift. Exhale to turn. So right hand on the floor behind you. Left hand crosses over. When you bring your hand onto the outside of the leg, notice if the leg itself rises up at all and let that go. If the leg rises up, that indicates tension. And that indicates trying. Trying indicates a trier, someone who's trying. And that's not re-emerging into the field. That's still the particle observing, feeling itself separate from the field, feeling isolated. Our job is to return the particle to the field, or the particle back to the wave. In particle physics is wave particle theory, which says everything exists as a wave of pure potential until it's observed, and then it becomes a particular. It appears somewhere in space and time, but before that, it could appear anywhere in space or time. Okay, lift and turn, keep lifting and turning. Breathe through your nose. Relax your bum. Nobody can just relax their bum without relaxing the tension that makes the bum tense. That's the tension of trying to get somewhere, or trying to be something, or not to be something. Perhaps it's Shakespeare's fault, all of this. So to be or not to be, that is not the question as far as yoga is concerned. That's from Romeo and Juliet, not sure. Yeah. Because is it wondering if he's a Capulet or is it from Hamlet? Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys. A little bit of culture in the house today. Return to center, breathe easy, jaw soft. One must read Hamlet more often, mustn't one? You can come off the blocks if you like.
Depends what you did for school.
That's true. I did Romeo and Juliet. Hold your big tongues. We all did something, didn't we? And we did Of Mice and Men. I think they're still doing that now. Still doing that. Lean back and let your feet come off the floor. Yeah, check behind you in case there's a massive chasm or something.
I still want to break because that's stupid.
Not stupid. I think it's exciting and risky. So, it just means you've got further to fall. But I don't think you're going to fall, are you? No. Great. There you go. You can extend your legs if you want. But if you're on bricks and you think you might fall, come off the bricks, because falling from bricks, that's not a party. So you can extend a bit or a lot. You can have the legs together or apart. It doesn't matter. We might think, this is about the pose. People that are more strong and flexible, they're the ones who are good at yoga. That's just not true. It's just not true. Breathing through your nose. Good job, Kate. Take a breath. Loosen up a lot. Yeah, it's good. Exciting, isn't it? Exciting. Okay, well done. Oh, you collapsed. Come out of the pose, nice and easy. And we're going to come for a moment into balasana. So kneeling, let's face towards this side of the room, wherever you are in the room. Face towards this side of the room. I'll just process along it. Process. Okay, and then you're kneeling with your knees a little way apart. Don't think I've ever done that before. Do it again. Process. Okay, knees apart. and come forwards nice and slow. So slow enough for the groins to drop as you move. If you need a block between the heels and buttocks, please take one, but please also have some support for your head in front of you. Slow, slow, slow. So discipline is part of yoga. The discipline here is to only come forwards as quickly as the groins release. So sometimes you can't go forwards because they're not releasing. There's a pause while some more tension is discovered and released. Once it starts releasing again, you come forwards again. Calmly coming back up when you're ready. I'm going to suggest sitting on a brick block, but that's not going to be comfortable for everyone. So you can sit in any comfortable upright seated position. So I'm suggesting, in case you want a suggestion, Siddhasana, which is where the heels line up with each other in the midline of the body. But you can sit kneeling or with blocks. Just get yourself comfortable. That's what matters, and upright. We're going to practice mantra uchara. The most important thing is you're not uncomfortable and that your spine is upright. Use blankets, use blocks, kneeling, cross-legged, whatever's, most important is you're not uncomfortable. We're going to pass 3 ohms from the pelvic floor upwards. When you get to the M sound, it gets more nasal and it comes out of the crown of the head. It's called mantra uchara. Mantra uchara is what it's mantra moved up, uchara. And the idea is it's like cleansing, like you floss your teeth, hopefully you floss or interdent, I don't know what you do. I'm not going to ask you, it's private. But anyway, you do something with your teeth, I hope. Got to do it in between. Similarly with your central channel, so you need to cleanse that too. And that's what you do with this mantra. So 3 rounds of Om, starting at the pelvic floor, coming up out of the crown of the head. Let's do it together. Take a deep breath in. Another one from the pelvic floor, start there. Last one. And then deep breaths. In the middle between all reactions. All around us are multiple, various choices of reactions that we could reach for. Physical sensations, mental sensations, emotions. But we're sitting in the middle. Reactions orbiting around us like electrons around the nucleus of an atom. We're not reaching for them. We're going to lay down on our backs when we're ready for our final pose, Shavasana. Very important pose. I might even call it a practice rather than a pose. Make sure you're warm for Shavasana. Make sure you've got socks or something if you're chilly, or a jumper or a blanket. Make sure you've got space. You can top and tail with the person next to you if you feel that will give a bit more space for your arms, because we do not want to compromise. We do not want to compromise our arm distance. It should be generous. Our hands should not be on our yoga mats. If they are, they're too close. It's an eyes closed, jaw soft position. Head can be supported if it tips back. Quoting from the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra, find a place you can be on your own. A place where you don't have to be anybody, going anywhere. And lay on your back with your limbs loose, with your mouth facing towards the sky, as if you were dead. The only other thing we're told about this practice is that this is an excellent sanketa, which means a practice that's taught by the Lord Shiva. It's an excellent sanketa, and that the sanketas are taught for the purpose of melting. Sanketas are taught for the purpose of melting. Muscle melts, skin melts, boundaries, borderlines melt between things like the inside and the outside. Between the mind, the body, the breath, and the environment. Borderlines melt. We melt back into the mother field. Feel into your body. Stretch and move. Perhaps stretch your toes or your fingers or both. Perhaps move your wrists and ankles. And let natural stretches break out. Natural stretches. When you're ready, bend your legs and place the soles of your feet onto the floor. Scoot the buttocks under. Take a deep breath. Roll onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room. Roll back to your other side. Lay as comfortably as you can on your side. When you're ready, bring yourself up nice and easy, using your arms to assist your ascent. It's a bit cold, isn't it? Sorry about that. Bring your hands to prayer position. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of not just us, but of all beings. Om. It's very hard to depart today because the sad news is next week is Easter. It's not sad because, of course, you'll get Easter eggs from the Easter Bunny, so that's exciting. But there are no classes on at the Brighton Buddhist Centre, from me anyway, on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. That's very sad. Correct, Mondo. Yeah, basically the Easter weekend. So Good Friday, I'll be stuffing my face with hot cross buns. Easter Sunday, I'll be stuffing my face with Easter eggs. Easter Monday, I'll be nursing my belly. My poor. So those are not on, but there are classes on my YouTube channel. I've got a YouTube channel. So if you want to do a class, you can do a class on my YouTube channel instead. But I'm still here all week. It's okay. Everything's all right. So everything will be fine. But make sure you still do your practice on Saturday, even though I won't be teaching it, because you can do it with me from my YouTube channel. Exactly, YouTube. Thanks, guys. Love you all. Thanks for your time. Thank you. Bye for now. Don't forget my YouTube channel.